everyone.
I'm back, baby.
It's Jake Ciely.
I'm great. Everybody else sucks.
Oh,
no. It's every nightmare I've ever had.
Excuse me?
It's time to check the link.
Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't matter because none of this has anything to do with the show.
You know what? You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No.
What's up, you ducks? Welcome to week 4 fantasy football of All In Football on BetsTV with stepmom Lauren. As always, as a reminder, make sure you're following her and all her work at stepmom Lauren, and make sure stepmomlauren.com and don't search for it on Google. And if you're not part of FTN, if you still want to get 20% off, code ALLIN, ALLIN. I-N. So that'd be too long of a word. You can get 20% off. And then, of course, theathletic.com/BetsTV, all capitals, first free month. So you can check out the waivers, which are live. You can jump into the comments. And if you talk about Tony Pollard, you're guaranteed to get an answer. I answer everybody anyway. But if you missed out on Tony Pollard and unfollowing me on Monday night, and you're still here, I appreciate it. But we talk concerns and we talk ducks today. And stepmom Lauren has the best t-shirt ever worn on this show outside of mine because it is a DuckTales t-shirt. I am actually also wearing Straight Outta Duckburg. Woohoo. So because
oh my gosh.
See? You didn't even notice.
I didn't because the Duckburg was too low. I couldn't see it.
Yeah,
so mine's up here at the top. Like, you know,
it still fits.
visible.
You just don't see the woohoo.
That's true.
Yeah. So
that's true.
Straight
I also
Duckburg,
wasn't. I don't pay attention to what you wear.
Obviously, but I do appreciate the straight up DuckTales shirt. That's the original too. That's the old school one.
I went old school.
Yeah, the new school one, I was genuinely surprised at how good it was, and the voice of Launchpad was even better than the first time around. I will say that. But we're talking waivers. That's what we're here to talk about. And look, he's not the best one, but we have to start the show with who else?
Duh. I mean, someone who tweeted this, like someone tweeted. You did actually, yeah. And you're like, oh, I wonder who it is that we're going to be talking about today. And I'm like, obviously, it's Josh Gordon, everybody.
No, it's Dalton Schultz. What are you talking about?
Oh,
no, I'm
my
kidding.
bad. No, it's Josh Gordon. It's Josh Gordon. 100% of your fab. Go do it now. He was with the Chiefs.
Hey, if somebody's only listening to this part, they're going to think you're serious.
No, I'm kidding. Totally kidding.
Yes. To make that clear, she is kidding. I am as well. This is what I said, Lauren. I have a feeling you're going to agree, but forget the whole not since 2013. Like, we've done this, and I say we've done this because we've been down this road before with Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon has shown up with some value back with the Seahawks, but it was inconsistent. It's not. Josh Gordon has shown his talent since 2013. Josh Gordon is also now 8 years removed since 2013, 7-ish. He's 30 years old. He's coming to a team that doesn't have a clear number 2, but it's not because they don't have talent. It's because the Kansas City Chiefs have never had a clear number 2. Because the real question is, Lauren, they don't have a clear number 3 because 1 and 2 are Hill and Kelsey. They have 50% of the target share after having 45.9% last year. The number 3, and this is why I have Hardman on no teams, is because this is the same reason I was off Hardman, is you don't want Sammy Watkins before him. You don't want Hardman. You don't want Pringle. You don't want Robinson because it doesn't matter. It's a collection. So, yes, the answer is go pick up Gordon. But that's because the second part of the answer is immediately trade him to somebody who is fascinated with Josh Gordon.
Yes, I do agree. But don't forget Jody Fortner. Whoever it was that sniped one of those touchdowns named Jody.
I
He's on the team too.
Forts, and I had to fix my autocorrect so many times. I still got the S and T backwards because it kept recorrecting, and I kept trying to fix it, and then I didn't even notice that it had the S and T backwards. So I was like, screw it. Fortson, by the way, yes. That's the truth. Thing. If you picked up Josh Gordon, would you trade him for Robert Woods on the cheap?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Would you trade? Yeah, I'm starting higher because this is the same. I mean, the obvious.
I had to make sure I was like, you think you're talking Robert Woods from the Rams.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
that's, I was like, is there another one?
No, but these are the things that you can get right now. And that's my point of why
you should. What? Really?
Look, trust me. Everybody always says not in my league. Yes, Hunter Smith. It is a real offer. Everybody always says not in my league.
Thank you, Hunter. I didn't. Ooh.
No, but look, this is what wasn't it on this show that I talked about last week where somebody said, should I drop Antonio Gibson to pick up, who was it? It was not A.J. Dillon, but it was along those lines because he was like, it was Tony Jones because I have Alvin Kamara. People are inexperienced. And I have somebody in the comments this week who's already said my league won't trade with me after week 1 because I sent Jameis Winston for blank and I forget what it was. It's like, it's not your fault you sold high and you took advantage of it. But there's, again, not everybody is on the upper echelon. Not everybody's even middle of the pack. All right, so you pick up Josh Gordon. Do you sell Josh Gordon for Corey Davis?
Yeah, I do. And the reason I would do that is volume. And Zack Wilson will, get it figured out. The poor kid. Ugh.
Interesting enough, Corey Davis only has 20% of the share through the first 3 weeks, even after 10 targets. I pulled that up yesterday. I was shocked.
Who's the target leader?
He is for the team.
Okay,
but it's only 20. That's my point. That's not.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Would you trade? How about this? Josh Gordon for Cole Beasley.
Yes. Josh
Gordon for Jacoby Myers, who is basically Cole Beasley on that team.
Literally.
Josh Gordon for Juju Smith-Schuster. That's an easy yes, right?
Yeah, I mean, Ben
Roethlisberger's arm, but
yeah,
right.
But Juju's going to be that.
Here's an interesting one: Josh Gordon for Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
Okay. See, and that's okay, but that's my point. Josh Gordon for Tim Patrick, not knowing.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know Jerry Jeudy's, but this is my point. Like, I'm going down the list, and I agree with Lauren. Like, these are all guys I would absolutely trade Josh Gordon for, but again. Now this list, like the Pittman, the Tim Patrick, you could probably get one of those guys and something. Again, the Josh Gordon name just carries so much value. Would you trade? I'll give you a shout out, Alex. I'll give you a shout out because you're always here. Would you trade Josh Gordon for Michael Carter or Hunter Renfro?
Hunter Renfro.
What about Michael Carter?
I like Michael Carter too. I think, but it's just going to depend on what my team needs. Because if I need a running back, then I will go Michael Carter here. But I really love Hunter Renfro.
Yeah.
For both of them. Yes. Yes.
And that's Lee Ving just said Josh Gordon plays more than 2 games this season, ? And that's a legitimate question. Yeah. Here's the thing, too, real quick, and we'll move on from Josh Gordon. But let's talk about Antonio Brown last year. And this isn't name drop. I say it every single time. I'm not name dropping. I'm saying it because this is a former football player who called it to a T, and I keep giving him credit for this. Mm-hmm. I was talking to Brian McFadden last year, and he said that if you look at Rob Gronkowski starting off slow, I would expect him about the middle of the season, which he called to a T. And we also brought up Antonio Brown. And he said, if Antonio Brown signs with the team, don't expect Antonio Brown, because it was the middle of the season, it was around 8 or 9 when he was allowed to sign, and everything was cleared up and everything like that.
Yeah, it was the end of October.
Right. And he said, don't expect Antonio Brown to be Antonio Brown until December. He said those exact words. Antonio Brown wasn't Antonio Brown until December. And that's Antonio Brown, who has played a lot more than Josh Gordon has over the past couple of seasons. So I bring that up to say Josh Gordon even getting to who Josh Gordon could be the end of October. And that by that point, nobody's even going to want to trade for him because everybody's like, well, screw it. He doesn't even have value. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Josh Gordon is going to be fantasy annoying as opposed to fantasy relevant.
That is very true. And you know what's going to happen? As soon as Josh Gordon has an amazing game, he's like, oh my God, Josh Gordon, let everybody lose their mind. So maybe if you haven't been able to trade him and hope that game happens, but I would trade him basically for a wide receiver 3, an RB3. You can get help for your team. Just do it and get away. Look,
he's basically going to be Sammy Watkins in that offense.
Look, hold on. I'll throw up Michael Zastro. This is exactly what I'm talking about. He got offered Deontay Johnson for Josh Gordon. You take
Are you serious?
You take that trade
Smash
and
accept.
run. But that's my point. That's 100% my point. Matthew Bingham, curious if you guys think Chicago Field's disaster will impact San Francisco's decision. So we talked about at the beginning of the show yesterday a lot with meaning about the Justin Fields. I don't want to go down that road again. But no, has nothing to do with Trey Lance. I didn't think Trey Lance was starting this year as long as they were in contention. And it doesn't have anything to do with Justin Fields because Shanahan is not Matt Nagy, who is the biggest idiot in football right now. And no, he's true. Like,
I know. It's sad.
Like, I was texting with and I'm not going to say the name because I don't want him, out there for this, but it's somebody who's been in NFL circles and legitimately said to this that sometimes coaches will set up, not purposely sabotage players. That's a different thing, but not set them up for success so they can look like the smartest person in the room.
that would not surprise me. There's a lot of drama that's involved in making these decisions. So that something like that wouldn't surprise me, which is
I didn't even say it as harsh as I did yesterday, and I alluded to it in the waiver column, and somebody called me like a childish clown and something like that. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh.
Yeah. So this was because for suggesting such a thing.
How dare
let's talk
you?
Let's talk about Chuba Hubbard, because that's the biggest name that's actually relevant on waivers right now, unlike Josh Gordon. Because Chris McCaffrey, they're not putting McCaffrey on the IR, which is somewhat telling because at minimum it would be 3 games, but 3 games isn't that long if you think about things. So the fact that they think he could potentially return in 2 weeks, that just kind of opens up the door to say that Hubbard obviously isn't a long-term solution. He could be. McCaffrey could aggravate the injury, could come back and get hurt again. But if Hubbard is out there, Lauren, how aggressive are you as the McCaffrey owner? And then if you weren't the McCaffrey team, how aggressive are you? Because I'm sure it's 2 differing situations for you.
Oddly, I might have a different answer here. If I'm not the McCaffrey manager, I'm actually being more aggressive than if I were the McCaffrey manager. Mostly because there's going to be a ton of, look, we're kind of the same idea we're talking about with Josh Gordon here. If you do happen to get Chuba Hubbard, he may only get 2 to 3 weeks worth of work. Okay. So you can then turn right back around and trade him to the McCaffrey guy for someone that you may need that's going to be a little bit more possibly productive. The problem with Chuba Hubbard that I have is I am a McCaffrey manager on a couple teams, and I hesitated to really put in any kind of a claim for Hubbard because I did not like what I saw. There was a lot of things going on there. It was Tommy Tremble, it was Royce Freeman, it was Sam Darnold himself. And if you combine all of those players together, you might get maybe sort of ish close to something that McCaffrey could do on a bad day. So it's not like Chuba Hubbard is going to step in here and suddenly become the next Christian McCaffrey, but he will have volume. He's going to get the volume, but whether or not he's going to get the touchdowns is still kind of up in the air. So it's weird. I would be aggressive. And by aggressive, I want to say above 20% for Chuba Hubbard. But it depends on what league you're in too. Because if you're in a really aggressive league, go higher than that. Fab is so weird when it comes to how different teams and different
number
players
one waiver priority. You have to, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, he is going to be your number one waiver priority if it's not a Fab situation.
Yeah, and even if I'm flush, I'm still doing it for what you just said for the trade piece. I've seen a lot of people here. I want to pull up one of them. The one of them that I was actually the most surprised about of talking like trade deals that have already come through the comments where people. So here's one for you. This has McCaffrey into it, and I want to bring him up for a different reason. But Jack H said that I'm 0-3. I was offered Eckler for McCaffrey and Chuba. And I said, you do it because you're 0-3. You need to win now. You can't wait for McCaffrey, and you can't hope that Hubbard is the answer. So that's that's just kind of like I want to throw that one out there. Same thing if you got Barkley. I would even take Jonathan Taylor. I know he's been frustrating with the Nyheim Hines situation, but if you're 0-3, and that's why I keep saying, if you're 0-3, you have to win. You can't go 0-4. I mean, I've seen 0-4 teams make the playoffs, but you need to win now. You can't wait on McCaffrey. So I'm trying to find the one good trade that I found.
Real quick, while you look for that, Jonathan Taylor is a very interesting name for me. I love him as a trade target because I know a lot of managers are very frustrated with Jonathan Taylor. So he is an excellent trade piece. If you need someone like Jonathan Taylor who can produce for you down the stretch, I would go ahead and target Jonathan Taylor. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a very intriguing. So here's one.
Lowest value.
Chuba Hubbard for Darrell Henderson. And that's absolutely go do it because, yes, Darrell Henderson's hurt, but that's the kind of situation you look for. You look for somebody who's worried, somebody who's dealing with the situation, Deontay Johnson before with the Josh Gordon thing, and that's where you maximize value on Hubbard. The other situation with Hubbard that you didn't mention that I have concerns about is Royce Freeman on third downs because the one thing about Hubbard, even coming out of college, is the pass blocking. And you saw that. And Royce Freeman's the veteran. Royce Freeman is a capable pass blocker. So even if Hubbard is the lead, it still might be more of a 55-45 split than it really is going to be a 65 or even 70 split.
I agree there. And that's kind of what I was alluding to with we don't know who's going to get the goal line work. Maybe I said it or maybe I didn't. I've said it twice now, so I hate repeating myself.
Oh, trust
but
me,
I do it
I
anyway.
How many shows I said things
it's crazy. But yeah, I'm concerned about the goal line work. So it could turn into a Chuba Hubbard situation in between the 20s. And then we have a completely different situation when it gets to the goal line. he's just not Christian McCaffrey, but unfortunately he is going to be that hardcore aggressive guy you go get, and he is going to be your first priority if it's a priorities hype of waiver system. So yeah, but again, not necessarily horrible, because there are some desperate McCaffrey managers out there who may be willing to trade someone pretty juicy in order to get that insurance policy.
Yeah, here's one. Alex, you don't get 7,000 questions, but I'll answer this one for you because you're so loyal. I'm just joking. I know. I'm joking. He knows I'm joking. Would you trade Hubbard and Ridley for Sutton and Taylor? I say yes, even though with the wide receiver downgrade, I still say yes because of the massive running back upgrade.
Yeah, I could see that. I hesitated, though. That's tough.
I'm joking, Alex. No apologies. I'm legitimately joking. You're one of the most loyal people here. You, G-Man J. Like, I see the names. I recognize the name. Lee's always here. Corey's here a lot.
Oh, G-Man J. Hi.
Matthew's here a lot. So, yeah.
I know, Matthew. Hey, tell Jess I said hi.
No, I actually don't know if G-Man's here. He was here yesterday. But anyway. So let's continue to talk about running backs. We already talked about Michael Carter. And Michael Carter, we talked about last week. So just a reminder, go pick him up. Make sure he's not sitting out there. Just split almost evenly. Ty Johnson got more passing down work, but it's there. Here's the one. And I led this sentence in the waiver column with, well, I guess we're doing this, aren't we? It's Peyton Barber. And yeah, exactly. We're doing it at least until Josh Jacobs is back. But your reaction was just the reaction here is you're as likely to get 15 for 34 as you are to get 17 for 60 and a touchdown, or what just happened with Peyton Barber. So let me frame it this way. Would you blow your number one wire priority on Peyton Barber? No. And I think that's kind of how you have to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, he's Peyton Barfy right now. And it's because you don't know what is going to happen. And he is entirely health dependent on Josh Jacobs. He will become irrelevant once Jacobs is back in the lineup. So it's just, that is way too pricey for me. He may be free after waivers clear. Check that.
Because we've done this with Peyton, unless you're in an experienced league, and then somebody's going to go crazy for Peyton Barber.
That's true. But there are other options, I think, that are so much more worthwhile. Like Cordell Patterson is another one, too, that I really like over Peyton Barber. Let's see. There's Giovanni Bernard I would rather have than Peyton Barber. No. In that case, I'm just passing them both and stashing a wide receiver. Nothing to do. So, how about this? Peyton Barber or J.J. Taylor with James White out? I would take the seat, and that's what I would take. That's why. No, and that's why I would take the chance on Taylor. It's because you might get James White. Yeah. Okay, I can see that. It's just it. What happened to Damien Harris, by the way?
Yeah, game script. That just completely out the window. They were down 14, 20, nothing, 21-3, somewhere around there. It was basically 3 scores. That doesn't happen a lot. Damien Harris still clearly isn't the passing down primary option. He saw some pass downs. He actually had targets in those games. He's had targets in this season. So it's not that he doesn't get use, but this is the same thing I said in the preseason. Is the good thing about Damien Harris versus like the LeGarrette Blunts of the world that used to be on the Patriots is that he has 3 down ability. He is still not the best pass catcher and the best 3rd down option on this team. Even if J.J. Taylor is there instead of White, J.J. Taylor is still better. But Harris brings that. So what I will say is I would buy low on Damien Harris. I think Damien Harris is still in that Mike Davis conversation. They're low-end wide receiver. They're low-end RB2s. But if J.J. Taylor gets the White role, you could have a flex running back in half and full point PPR.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, and if it pans out and you don't really know if you're confident starting him week in and week out, trade him. I mean, there's that opportunity as well.
Yeah, and there's some of these guys that
Barber isn't exactly like trade.
Right. Well, this is why I said a lot of times, like you don't drop value. These are flyers, and I bring up like last week Quintez Cephas. Cephas was a flyer in case he became the number one, not of the Brandon Cooks level with the Texans, but like the number one that was just getting the volume every single week. It didn't happen last weekend. It'll be Khalif Raymond. So now it's just you forget the Lions. Forget the Lions at all. Maybe if Tyrell comes back, but these are the flyers that you know.
I've been saying this since week preseason. Okay.
Oh yeah, I know you said you don't want nothing with Lions, but I'm bringing this up to say this is in some leagues, if you have an open spot, or the waivers are like my home league is 12 teams and it's knowledgeable people where waivers are pretty thin. You take the flyer and next week it doesn't work out. You throw the flyer in somebody else. Like I took a flyer in Demetric Felton and I've immediately just thrown him aside because, I took the chance. Maybe they use him a lot. And those are these names. So don't drop significant value for them. Before we get to wide receivers, let's talk about some worry levels. Like we
I was going to say,
what
I need my ducks. What's going on?
I know. Well, we got your duck shirt. I got your duck shirt. And Lauren, you actually got a shout out from me in the comments on The Athletic, if anybody wants to go check it out, because who did I use? I can tell you right now, I'm going to scroll all the way up. If you go, no. If you go to Allen Robinson, he has 2 ducks.
Oh, yay.
And an egg.
Yay! You did it. Half a duck is super morbid. So the egg is so much better. Thank you very much, Jake. I appreciate it.
Potentially birthing a new duck there is, and somebody said, love the addition of the egg. And I said, well, you can thank Lauren and the Tuesday shows for that one. Yeah. We came up with that last week. So yes, let's start with Allen Robinson, because let's talk about this entire Bears situation here. Whatever the Nagy situation, whatever Justin Fields, the real truth, again, to the quick summation of yesterday's show is, no, Nagy didn't go out there and say, I'm going to make Justin Fields fail, mwahahaha. But he definitely didn't send him up for success.
Yeah.
He doesn't want Justin Fields to be the quarterback. That's why he was interviewed yesterday saying, I can't say who the starter is. He's potentially turning to Nick Foles.
Yeah.
This is all part of the conversation to be had, because if Justin Fields is droppable and Allen Robinson, who has been quarterback immune to this point of his career, are you on the 2 and a birthing a potential new duck with Allen Robinson, or are you already on a 3rd duck?
I'm still, incubation period has not gone on long enough for the egg. So I'm still at
He's
the
under the
phase.
heat lamp, though?
He's under the heat lamp. Getting ready. Unfortunately, I'll probably be there when he gets birthed, and now it's imprinted.
Did you have to do those eggs in high school where you carry it around for like 2 weeks or whatever, and you have to bring it back as part of like your home ec class? Did you have to do that?
Oh no, ours was a sack of flour because they were heavy.
Okay, sure.
I went to a private Catholic all-girls school. Okay, so we had to
You
bring.
should have taken the flour and turned it into a cake. That would have been.
We had to like dress it up, and like we had to like wrap it and swaddle it and like carry it around everywhere, and like make sure it was never left alone. Like it was like the weight of a real newborn baby. It was like a big thing of flour that we had to use. It was weird.
Oh no, we had to do the egg. The weird thing about the egg,
we didn't do the egg.
My egg was in perfect condition, although when I don't remember why that we looked through it. I don't remember if they were checking if there were any cracks. But my egg actually had a little bit of a thing growing in it.
Oh my God, no way.
Yeah.
I'm
such a good parent. I started creating a duck or a chicken or whatever the egg might have been. So there you go. No, Matt Nagy is a budget magician. No, he's not. Matt Nagy is Adam Gase. I said this on Twitter. He's Adam Gase. He is living off the career of the Chiefs under Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and spinning into this, and people want to give him credit for Patrick Mahomes. No, this is the same thing with Adam Gase. He was in the right spot at the right time. He's been proven that he can't do anything on his own. He has done nothing but destroy that team on his own. All right, so let's continue with that worry report now that I got that out of the way. Trevor Lawrence. Oh. How high are we pushing this? Like leading interceptions, the volume not there outside of week 1. Week 1 is actually the only week. Actually, I'm going to ask you see if you can get this right, stepmom Lauren. Do you know Trevor Lawrence's highest?
I mean, it's there.
What's Trevor Lawrence's highest finish at quarterback this season through in any of the 3 weeks?
Ooh, highest finish. I don't know. His week 1 was pretty decent.
Okay. So
I know that.
Give me a guess. Come on, let's go.
I don't know. QB 12?
No, too high. QB 15. Do you know where he finished? Okay. Do you know where he finished the other 2 weeks?
Oh, QB 35.
30 and 31. So there you go.
I'm being sarcastic with the 35. Okay?
You are not that far off.
No, it's sad.
So yes. So Trevor Lawrence, Lee just said, "What's the 6th duck?" Confetti, because does Trevor Lawrence hit 5 ducks at this point?
Yeah.
I gave him 4.
No, egg is hatched. Nope. It's
5 ducks.
Likey. We're there. And it's not Trevor Lawrence's fault. And that's what really sucks. Because this is, Urban Meyer, like, you need to stop watching Chip Kelly. Okay, stop it. This is the NFL.
No, maybe he does need to watch Chip Kelly and learn from what Chip Kelly tried to do in the NFL.
Oh, that's
like learn from his mistakes. Like, don't be. Yes,
do it. What not to do. Okay, I get that 100%. We finally saw a little bit of this with James Robinson. Finally coming back to fantasy relevance, which was great. But this just is so stinky for poor Trevor Lawrence with that. I mean, especially that flea flicker play where it's like, I know you got heat on that arm, bro. You do not need to like loft this up like a delicate lotus blossom. Like, what is happening right now? It's just, I mean, gross. Obviously in Dynasty, this is not what this is not even a topic.
I'm going to give you a question I got. I got a question I got in my waiver column. In a super flex league, Trevor Lawrence is his third quarterback.
Yeah.
Would you drop Trevor Lawrence for Mac Jones or Tyler Heinecke?
Oh.
Yeah. See? Not Mac Jones.
You know what?
There's not Mac Jones.
Correct. This is Taylor Heinecke. Yeah. You know what? I think I would, but it would depend on the matchup. The thing that has really impressed me about Taylor Heinecke is that he gives 0 S's. He gives 0 S's. He's kind of like
that's why he gets hurt
of Ryan Fitzpatrick. You
yes.
know, like he does it, but he tell you what, he plays his heart out, and that kid doesn't quit. So that
he knows every week might be his last week.
Exactly. And even though they lose, he still keeps playing all the way to the end of the game, which means fantasy points for us. Garbage time still counts in fantasy.
Yeah, he's kind of like a mix of Jalen Hurts and Ryan Fitzpatrick, but like
the
love
child.
Yeah, but like the lesser version of both. So he's like the lesser version of Hurts
ouch.
had a love child with the lesser version of Fitzpatrick, and so now you got
ouch.
Hey, this is coming from somebody who likes Heinecke, but like, no, because he's not running for 120 yards. If like Hurts could bust off 120 yards in a game if he felt like it,
okay.
But he's also not throwing for 350 and 4 touchdowns on 23 attempts. Like that's just That's why I laughed at Alex saying after last night, let Tony Pollard coach Lawrence for a week. Oh, he would be straight into the Hall of Fame. Tony Pollard would put him into the Hall of Fame immediately. Matthew Bigham, 5 ducks and a Canadian goose that flew south for a winter for Lawrence.
Yes, Matthew, nailed it.
All right, worry level on Javonte Williams. So everybody's focused on the fumble. Here's the thing: unless you start heading down, and I'm going to bring it up, unless you start heading down the Tiki Barber road, who also still didn't lose his job. He lost some touches while he was figuring things out, but never lost his job. I'm not saying Javonte Williams shouldn't have some concern. I gave him 2 ducks, but the helmet was right on the ball. Most running backs are fumbling that ball when that happens. It just happens. You can't. If you're a running back and you don't fumble the entire year, you probably got 20 carries. Like Adrian Peterson was a league leader in fumbles. Is going to the Hall of Fame as one of the best to ever play the position. It happens. But it's still a 50-50 split, at least, Lauren. So level of concern on Williams. Because I gave him a 2 and said if you expected him to take over by now, that's why I gave him a 2. But you shouldn't have. We kept saying week 6. I was one of the people, week 6, wait.
Yeah, I agree. I'm lesser. I 1 duck. Only one duck. Yeah. Because this was not expected to be a Javonte Williams backfield. He did get in the end zone, which is fine. He's a rookie, guys. This is bound to happen. It wasn't like this was so egregious that it's like, you're terrible. No. And they need all the help they can get on that team right now with all of the injuries. Like, speaking of a name that autocorrect just really does not want me to spell correctly, is Hamlet. It's always Hamlet. Always. And then I have to change it over and over and over again. It's like, no, Hamler. Exactly. They need help. So I don't know. I'm not worried about him at all. We were not expecting him to be the RB1. He's a clear RB2 with the potential of overtaking.
Oh, no, I
Melvin
did give
Gordon.
him only 1. Because I was clarifying. Yeah, that's it. And that's the thing is I was clarifying that if you expect, that was similar to the Rondell Moore one. So Rondell Moore, we can just jump down to real quick. And I gave him 1. I said 1 duck if you listened. Although I put if you expected this. I didn't want to put if you listened because it's going to sound too smarmy and people already think I am anyway. But
Smarmy, you smarmy git.
It was 1 duck for Rondell Moore because for the first 2 weeks, how many times did I say, and I'm not the only one, but say he's the 4th in wide receivers, not team. He's 4th in wide receivers. I said, so 1 if you expected this to potentially happen, and I said 4 if you thought he was going to be like the first 2 weeks. So you're panicking if you're that one. So I did give 1 running back 4 ducks. Do you want to guess who it is?
James Conner.
No. James Conner got 2 touchdowns.
I know.
I actually won
a
a little bit of a bet. Meaty knows this, that I actually had James Conner down for a touchdown this week because of the matchup
nice.
and because it was a really nice line on that one.
It was a very good line for James Conner, and I woofed on that one, by the way. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah. Tyson Williams gets the 4 ducks.
Does he get 100% agree?
5 for you? And here's the only reason I didn't give. This is the only reason. I mean, he should probably have 4 and an egg. Because
that's
he's
where
just
I'm at.
4 and an egg. He's about to birth the 5th one.
Yeah, it's close.
Because his share might be done. The only reason I didn't give it 5 is because it was 1 week, and maybe it switches back this week. But for all intents and purposes, watching that use in the game, and there was no game script, there was no anything otherwise that would say, okay, Williams went down the Damien Harris road. It was Latavius Murray and Devonta Freeman almost from the jump, and
it was very annoying.
Yeah.
Very annoying, especially when it'll match up like the Lions. This had it all perfect for him, and it did not come through. That worries me because that means I cannot at least somewhat predict when I can start him and when I can't, when I can put him in my flex, when I can't. That is why I'm so concerned, is because I no longer trust when I can put him in the lineup. That is terrifying.
And that's why I never want anything to do with the Buccaneers, is because people would be like, oh, well, Giovanni Bernard's useful. No, then he's not. And then Leonard Fournette. And I fell into making Leonard Fournette of RB3 flex last week because of the pass blocking issues with Ronald Jones, not thinking Gio was going to get that much work because he's a really good pass blocker too. And that's just, again, that's the Buccaneers. I don't want to go down this road. I'm not doing Zach Moss. You can ask me a million times. You can pick up Zach Moss. Go ahead. I'm not doing Zach Moss.
Yeah, me neither. I'm same boat. The thing that's funny about Giovanni Bernard, he didn't have a single carry. Didn't have one. It was all in the passing game. He had 10 targets and 9 receptions. It's crazy.
100%. Yes, real quick, Nahal, I did answer Allen Robinson, 2 and a birthing a duck. He's in the egg right now. We did cover that one. Who else do we have to get before we get back to wide receiver pickups? Oh, we got Corey Davis. I mentioned it, 20%. That's 20% of the target share even after 10 targets last week. I gave him 2.
Yeah, I'm sticking with 2. If this becomes more of a trend with Zack Wilson, 2. I really can't go any higher. Yeah, that's maybe I'm just trying to put the good juju out in the atmosphere. I don't know, but I'll stick with 2.
His number is actually 21.6% of the team target share. For reference and comparison, I call him the Volume King now. This is his new nickname because Volume King Brandon Cooks is leading the league at 37.6%. If Corey Davis was even 30%, it wouldn't even be a duck. But the 21.6 coming off a 10-target game, mildly concerned. And mostly because, I did say this was part of the concern, is he's not going to get as many targets, that being Corey Davis, as Zack Wilson has to keep throwing quickly because that's just not Corey Davis's game, which is why I had some appeal for Jamison Crowder in a 14-team league if he ever comes back. It's just because you're going to have to get the ball out quickly. How about the Dolphins wide receivers? I said they all get 3 except for Jalen Waddle. Right now, until Tua's back, the only wide receiver I want is Jalen Waddle.
I see what you did there, ducks and waddling.
Yeah,
I was a little bit more gun shy about the Dolphins wide receivers. I really needed to see Jacoby Brissett in a full game after a week of practice. I wanted to see that happen. Before I was fading all of them. That was a solid 4 across the board for me. I have lessened my panic button on Jacoby Brissett.
Okay. So Will Fuller.
I'm not talking. No, Will Fuller. No, gone. No.
He catches that touchdown on pass interference, by the way, and everybody's going crazy for Will Fuller.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Okay, I'm doing Will Fuller. I have no.
You do you. I'm not. I don't want that headache. That is drama. That is headache.
Because he could be the number 1, but again, I don't want to do Will Fuller until Tua comes back. That's what it comes down to.
Exactly.
Robbie Anderson.
And then for me, no.
Robbie Anderson. What are we doing with Robbie Anderson? How many ducks does Robbie Anderson get?
Guys, he's still at a 1 here for me because I don't freak out about Robbie Anderson because I go back to what Robbie Anderson was with the Jets with Sam Darnold. He is not a huge target monster. That's not their relationship. He is going to be a downfield threat. Understand he is boom or bust. Play him against either slow or poor secondary. That kind of a matchup. He will get better down the stretch like he did with the Jets and Sam Darnold, and watch him pull through for you in the fantasy playoffs. That's kind of what he does. That's why I'm not panicking, is because this is that role that I saw for him anyway. But if you did not see that, you might be at a 3 here for him, because you're like, what happened to Robbie Anderson? Why isn't this working out? Well, there are other pass catchers on that team. DJ Moore is very good. Terrace Marshall is turning out to be quite good. Now they're going to have to spread the ball out even more because there's no Christian McCaffrey. So I'm not worried about Robbie Anderson, because when I drafted him, that was the expectation, I speak English, that I had for him for 2021. And I understand that if some people did not and they want him a little bit more, then they'd be freaking out, but I'm not.
So I had that same expectation, but I also disagree, because I am at a 3, even though having that expectation, because this is what it comes down to. You're not wrong in anything you said about Robbie Anderson. The one issue I have is even being used in that fashion, 10.9% target share.
Yes.
He's not being used. Do you want a quick rundown of people who have a higher target share than Robbie Anderson? How about Khalif Raymond, Chester Rogers, Kendrick Bourne, Deontay Harris? In one game, Odell Beckham has a higher target share than Robbie Anderson does for the entire season. So that's all I'm saying here is, like, I'm with you in the use, and I'm with you in what this is, the expectancy should have been with Robbie Anderson. But I was expecting 16% target share. If we're talking 10, 11, then I'm giving him 3, because Sam Darnold, just not his boy, which I do have a bone to pick with you in a second about the same team. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Tight end, before we get out of here. Jonnu Smith and Robert Tonyan. Give them some ducks. How many ducks you giving them?
Jonnu Smith, ooh. Robert Tonyan is like a 2. Jonnu Smith is a 3.
No, you shorted them both by 1.
Yeah, I could see that too, though. But it's tight
Jonnu
end,
4.
so I tend to not have high optimism.
Oh, okay. Well, and so that's Jonnu 4. If you want to drop him, just get the hell out of here. It really, no, I said this, I think yesterday, or I don't remember again who I talked to, Lauren, but I said the answer for the Patriots being, is it Jonnu, is it Hunter Henry, is it both? It's neither. It's this. The answer ended up being, we don't want either of them. And Hunter Henry was out there more than him. And I don't think it could be Jonnu but Jonnu hasn't done anything. Just drop Jonnu. Robert Tonyan.
Very disappointing. Very disappointing.
Robert Tonyan was already touchdown reliant. We know that. But the problem is now he's down to 8.8% targets. Is that with Aaron Rodgers looking to Valdez-Scantling more, looking to Aaron Jones. So Tanyan's he's 4th on the team. Touchdown reliant, but he also has 1 red zone target, which he scored on. He got that touchdown, for everybody that remembers. It was a long one. He was barely inside the red zone, too, because that was it was from like the 18 or 19 against the Lions. But he's got 0 end zone targets. There are 17 tight ends with an end zone target. Robert Tonyan's not one of them. So I have no problem dropping. Would you drop Jonnu and or Tonyan for Evan Engram or Tyler Conklin?
Oh, yeah. I would drop Jonnu Smith for Tyler Conklin. I don't have a lot of faith in Evan Engram.
What about Tonyan?
Okay, here's my thing. Marquez Valdez-Scantling really enjoys eating either like super buttery breakfasts or like greasy donuts or something before he plays. And sometimes he has a nice healthy piece of toast, because he is notorious for dropping the ball on very, very crucial plays. And when that happens, Aaron Rodgers says, no mas, and then it's Robert Tonyan. So I would really hesitate to drop someone like Tonyan, because he can be so
Tonyan
explosive with Aaron Rodgers. And
you know who Tonyan is, right? He's the new Jared Cook.
Is he Tonyan Harding?
No, he's just the new Jared Cook. You just leave him in the lineup every single week, because you're not going to be able to predict when he scores his touchdowns and when he doesn't, because he has cake matchups and doesn't do anything. And then the Lions one was the obvious one, but he could have scored again in another good matchup, or he might go belly up. But if you have him, just roll him out there. And that's where I don't want to I might consider dropping Tonyan for Engram if Shepard is out, because we already know Slayton's, because we know Slayton's out. That's a really good
point. Yep. That's
and
a
here's
good
the
point.
thing, you know what's really funny? If you're watching that Giants game, you talk about drops with Evan Engram. So the first one he legitimately dropped. The second one was a tipped pass that still ended up coming to him, and he didn't catch because it was tip pass, and the crowd lost their minds and booed him because he's Evan Engram. That one wasn't even his fault, but that's just where they're at now with Evan Engram.
Yeah.
I want to pick that bone with you and say the fact that I saw your tweet, And absolutely Tommy Tremble is relevant. Here's why. Because they traded away Dan Arnold, and Tommy Tremble has an opportunity to be the tight end / third option with no Christian McCaffrey. And that's what he's basically walking into Curtis Samuel's role. And that's where I'm going with it. Like, no, I don't think Tremble is a top 6, 7, 8 tight end. No, I'm not saying that. I wouldn't play him over Logan Thomas. I wouldn't put him in Tyler Higbee conversation. But if you're playing this game with Jonnu Smith and the Evan Ingrams and the Dawson Knoxes of the world, I'll still take Dawson Knox. Yeah, but I think he belongs in that conversation of upside alone. People forgot how damn good Tremble was. What does Notre Dame do? They produce tight ends. That's all they do. And offensive linemen.
Yeah, I think this is more of me playing a little bit more conservative because I kind of need to see it. Too many mouths to feed. Too many mouths to feed in that offense.
No, it's not. There's one down, and there's 3. There's still 3. He's the third now.
Kind of true, but
Well, Terrace Marshall's been outplaying Robbie Anderson.
I know. I don't know, man. But like you said, I'm not saying no. I absolutely despise him. I think there might be. I can't even say there's better options out there because is there really? But I might want to take someone like Tyler Conklin just because I think the ceiling might be just a little bit higher. Dawson Knox is an interesting one too. They're very touchdown dependent, but tight ends are, especially someone like Tommy Tremble. I just don't know enough about him, so I think maybe that's where my skepticism comes in when it comes to how his role is going to change. And also, we're talking about Christian McCaffrey being gone 2, maybe 3 weeks, or an extended period of time. So it's too nebulous and too vague for me. Now, will I be mad at you if someone wants to go get Tommy Tremble? No, it's your team. You do you.
Tommy makes you tremble, or Pat Air Fryermuth.
Oh man, Pat Air Fryermuth, you sold me, man. You sold me. I almost brought my air fryer into my office to have it sitting on my shelf just for you.
Well, especially if they're down pieces. Although Eric Ebron got a lot of work again last week now, or for the first time had more opportunities than him. Let's go back to wide receivers. Let's talk some more pickups. How many times do we have to say, make sure Curtis Samuel's not sitting out there? I have a feeling this is the last week. He can now return this week. Why is Curtis Samuel still on waivers, Lauren? Tell me. Answer the question.
You know what? I gave up putting him in my waiver columns and talking about him because you just kind of assume that he's already been picked up. So I don't know. I don't know.
Are you, in that similar fashion, are you stashing Rashad Bateman now that he's eligible to practice and return?
If I have the space, yes. But because there are so many injuries, if you cannot afford to stash Rashad Bateman, I totally get it. But if you have the space, I would.
Okay. So here we're going to kind of play a game here. Kind of. It's every single player I mentioned for waivers. I want to know your opinion on said player, and then the second part of all of these is going to be this player or Bateman. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Yes.
So we've already talked Hunter Renfro ad nauseum on this show. So like, if you didn't pick him up, you just don't want that kind of wide receiver. But let's talk about his teammate Henry Ruggs, who is looking real good through 3 weeks, which I love. Henry Ruggs, is he now a must own? And when I say must own, that's basically 12-team leagues or larger. 10-team gets a little bit, there's a lot of options still usually on waivers. So this is your typical 12-team league. Henry Ruggs, must own. And then second part of that, Henry Ruggs or Rashad Bateman.
Yes, and Ruggs.
Good. How about Christian Kirk, who had another good game, 2 out of 3 good games, still in front of Rondell by quite a few snaps. Is he somebody that you would be picking up in 12-team leagues, and then Kirk or Bateman?
Yes, and Bateman.
Interesting, because
there are, again, a lot of mouths to feed when it comes to the Cardinals, and DeAndre Hopkins is banged up, which is, I think, why he saw a little bit more volume this week. Rondell Moore is still there, and then AJ Green also saw over 100 yards. So I don't know how consistent Christian Kirk is going to be able to be. So if I'm going to have a player that I'm not sure that's inconsistent, I want to go ahead with the ceiling of someone like Rashad Bateman, who might be getting way more looks because Marquise Brown is kind of dropping the ball, no pun intended.
Man, that was the most. He could have had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was very frustrating. Very frustrating.
Here's why I'll push back a little bit, because I don't think their roles are too dissimilar in the fact that options. Marquise Brown, the drops are the drops. We play the drops game. Remember all the people that didn't want to draft Jamar Chase? How do you feel right now today after fading Jamar Chase because of
why did anyone fade Jamar Chase? Stop it.
No, but I bring that up to say drops are like fumbles with running backs. even lesser degree. Like, you can become fumble prone and have an issue. And even seeing coaches like Bill Belichick bench you. Drops are drops. Drops, you have to have egregious level of drops. And granted, they were egregious because when they happened, and that's the attention was there. But let's talk about Eric Ebron back with the Lions. They always felt like Eric Ebron's always dropping the ball. The drops were usually like 8 or 9, and then he goes and puts up 1 billion touchdowns because he's in a, So I say that to say this. Rashad Bateman's still a rookie, still has had very little time in this passing offense, which let's put quotes about this passing offense because I'm one of the biggest Lamar Jackson stans talking about the fact that he can pass, and people overrate the fact and think that he can't. They've already forgotten that his MVP season with those touchdowns. Yeah. But all that being said, is you have Bateman, Watkins, Andrews, and obviously Marquise Brown. If one of them went away, sure. But I don't think that's too dissimilar from Christian Kirk. And if you tell me the passing offense versus passing offense, I'm taking Kirk.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. They're not too dissimilar. And again, for me, if they're not dissimilar, I want the ceiling with someone like Rashad Bateman because of what I know Lamar Jackson can do. Kyler Murray can do the same thing. So really, it's a preference, right? I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer because Christian Kirk is great. I do
think that Bateman could be the most complete wide receiver of that entire team. There's no question about that. He definitely is more of that. I
think it's maybe long-term. I think the way that I look at this is rest of season, right? So not for like any immediate matchups right away, but especially with Bateman just coming back and with DeAndre Hopkins hurt. I think in that vacuum, I would rather have Christian Kirk. But if I'm looking at the rest of season situation, I want to have what I believe Rondell Moore, good Lord, what Rashad Bateman can bring to the table long-term as opposed to short-term, if that makes sense.
How about, now I was hesitant, and I even said this in the column, I was hesitant to pick up Emmanuel Sanders. Because and it's funny, I said I was completely off Gabriel Davis this year because of Emmanuel Sanders. But I was also, this is funny how things can work. I was also hesitant to pick up Emmanuel Sanders because of Gabriel Davis, if that makes sense. Because through at least the first game and through the preseason, it looked like they were sharing that third role. Well, towards the end of week 1, week 2, and definitively week 3, it's definitively Sanders is the third wide receiver. So I am now 100% in on Sanders because it's very much like the Carolina Panthers, where, sure, there could be some inconsistencies, but Diggs is the guy. Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders are usable as wide receiver 3s or 4s every single week because here's the other part of it, Lauren. The snap percentage / target percentage for Gabriel Davis is almost bottomed out. 1.4% target share the past 2 weeks. He is not he's gone.
Yeah, he saw 5 in week 1, but he only had 2 receptions, and one of his drops was pretty significant. So I know we were talking about drops earlier, but it's just kind of one of those things that I love having a piece of an explosive offense, and Emmanuel Sanders is one of those pieces I like to have. I love Emmanuel Sanders. I've loved him ever since I started playing fantasy football. So he's just kind of one of those studs that I don't know. I have an affinity for him. But yeah, we're with Emmanuel Sanders, we're going towards trend as opposed to fluke. So
Sanders over Bateman?
We can put that. Yeah, I would take Emmanuel Sanders over Bateman. Yeah.
Last one. And this might really tug at your heartstrings here because it's Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers. Look, it's the Hunter Renfro. If you don't want him at this point, I don't know what we have left to say. He's slightly lesser version. He's discount Julian Edelman from back in because at least Julian Edelman was scoring touchdowns. Like Jacoby just can't get into the end zone.
I know, poor guy.
But Jacoby, if you don't want him, so the question now becomes Jacoby or Bateman. Is this as simple as if you need somebody now, it's Myers. If you want somebody long term for Bateman, or do you still like Myers over Bateman long term?
I'm going to go with your first part on that one. If you need somebody now, Myers long-term, I'm going to stick with Bateman. I just think he has the higher ceiling.
Could you at least let me finish the drink before you finish your sentence? You could have rambled for a few more seconds.
No, I just wanted to make you feel really uncomfortable.
I just don't want the dead air for the people that are only listening to the podcast version.
I'm sorry, everybody. I was not paying attention to what Jake was doing. Oh, that's why you should have a straw. It doesn't have that weird noise.
I normally do, but that no, it's actually it's in the dishwasher. I was about to say the washing machine. That would be really messed up. So
that would be interesting,
Before we get out of here, Lauren, you dropped this in here. Do you want to read it or do you want me to read it?
You can read it because I'm curious about your thoughts here because I don't know. I don't really know how to answer this question. So you know what? Let me read it. You take a drink of water or something again if you're parched and need a libation.
I'm gonna drink water until you finish the question.
Oh my God, get ready because I'm going to talk real slow. But anyway, this is from...
We got to get out of here.
I know. Stop. He's so bossy. Anyway, Brad Reed from Twitter. All right. His thoughts on what he should do with Trey Sermon, Robert Woods, and he has Zack Wilson in a super flex as his QB3. His first QB goes on a bye in week 7, and the Jets face New England. Should he grab Tua Tagovailoa now and hope he's ready for week 7 in Atlanta? So for me, what to do with Trey Sermon, I despise all of it. I despise all of the Kyle. I'm very impressed right now. Well done, my friend. Keep going. Keep checking. And then Robert Woods, kind of worried about that one too. But, do you grab Tua now? I mean, how deep is your league? And these are kind of questions left in it.
I finished the entire bottle. No, there was I finished the bottle, but there was that little leftover that just kind of gets
the backwash.
Yeah, no, I just poured it on myself. You missed it. I poured it on myself. I was showing you that I finished the bottle before you even finished the question, which was all the way up to here. And then there was that little left bit right there that spilled. So anyway, Trey Sermon, I trade right now if you can.
Yes.
Because I still think that Elijah Mitchell. This is Shanahan. He had Juszczyk get the first carry. Shanahan was literally backed into a corner of having to use Trey Sermon in the second half, and when he finally showed up.
Why does he hate Trey Sermon so much? What did he do?
Well, you saw some of the concerns.
Who hurt you, Kyle?
It's some passing game. It's definitely some pass blocking. Remember, we talked about it last week. A lot of running with shotgun formation versus the quarterback being under center, which is a tough transition for a lot of rookie running backs. That's actually a lot of times why you'll see splits early in the season, like Javonte Williams. I'm not saying he has that same issue. I'm just saying if somebody was in that situation, you might see that because it's a transition for the running back to understand where their assignments are when you're playing. So anyway, deep dive, something else. Anyway, so I would trade Sermon before that mess gets worse. Robert Woods, I'm buying low on Robert Woods. I can't sell him right now if I have him because you're not going to get proper value unless somebody wants to give you top 25 wide receiver because somebody still loves Robert Woods. Then sure, I would get out of there if you could get that, but I doubt you can. And then for the Zack Wilson situation, go pick up Tua and hope he's ready for Atlanta because it's not even that Zack Wilson's on a bye. It's that I just don't want to start Zack Wilson if I don't have to.
Yeah, I agree. But that's what I was so concerned about because do you want to pick up a quarterback that's injured and then have to hold that, spot on your bench and not have any way of you are soaking wet, are you?
No, I'm just trying to dry that one little. I told you it was only a little bit right there.
Yeah. You just actually dumped it behind him or something.
I am 100% buying low on Cortland Sutton to Alex. Answer Alex before we get out of here. Over Woods. I would take Sutton over Woods 10 times.
Yes, agreed. Me too.
And then Marvin Jones for Woods. Which would you take there? I think that's almost like a toss up, but I'm a Marvin Jones guy. I would still take Woods. I would still go buy low on Woods for that.
I like Marvin Jones.
Okay. And if you guys like the show, you like that. Please subscribe, thumbs up, all that stuff. Ring the bell on YouTube to keep helping us grow. And the 5 stars if you're listening on iTunes and wondering why that dead space came from Lauren. You could follow her at Stepmom Lauren and stepmomlauren.com. I'll be back tomorrow. Spill some more water on myself with Jeff at 2 p.m. as we talk ranks for week 4 as Lauren's losing it. Love you guys. See you later.